साहब की मजलिस पढ़ाए या पढ़े जाएंगे?
11 नवंबर
11 को। अच्छा
जाएंगे।
नहीं मैं तो आपके साथ जा सकता था।
जाऊँगा।
और एक और का प्रोग्राम है, फिर मैंने उनसे वादा किया हुआ है।
11 नवंबर
अगर बच्चे लोग वहाँ ना लेके गए तो फिर मैं आपको बता दूँ।
कोई सेंटर में
कोई सा हाँ आई डोंट नो। अच्छा आदमी थे ये पुराने लोगों में।
जी हाँ।
डॉक्टर नासिर की मजलिस तो आपने नहीं पढ़ी थी ना? या आपने पढ़ी? आपने पढ़ी? उन्होंने कहा था उसमें भी जो है डॉक्टर नासिर भी बहुत अच्छा है।
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله اللهم صل على محمد أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليًا ولي الله أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليًا حجة الله هيا على الصلاة هيا على الصلاة هيا على الفلاح هيا على الفلاح هيا على خير الأعمال هيا على خير الأعمال الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم اجعل قلبي بارا وعملي سارا وعيشي قارا ورزقي دارا وأولادي أبرارا واجعل عند قبر النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم مستقرا بقرارا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم صل على
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي كان موجودا قبل حدوث الأشياء ويبقى بعد فناء الأشياء تفرد بالأولية والقدم ووسم كل شيء ما عداه بالفناء والعدم كما قال عز شأن كل شيء هالك إلا وجهه وكل نفس ذائقة الموت وقال كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام سبحان من لا يخفى عليه اختلاف النيات ولا يعزم عنه معاصي العباد في الخلوات سبحان الله الذي منه خلقة العباد وإليه المعاد ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يرى ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يرى نشهد أن لا إله إلا هو الملك الذي لا ينازع في ملكه ولا يضاد في حكمه يعذب من يشاء بما يشاء ويرحم من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء تعذيبه المسيئين عدل وعفوه تفضل ونشهد أن محمدا سيد المرسلين وخير المبشرين والمنذرين صلى الله عليه وآله الهداة المهديين من ركب سفينتهم نجا واهتدى ومن تخلف عنها ضل فغرق وهوى أوصيكم عباد الله بالاعتصام بالتقوى فإنه حبل متين وأروة وثقى قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين لله شهداء بالقسط ولا يجرمنكم شنآن قوم على ألا تعدلوا اعدلوا هو أقرب للتقوى صلوات الله محمد وعلى محمد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I begin by advising myself and all of you to practice the taqwa and the piety of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The verse that I recited is an important discussion from Surah Ma'idah, ayat number 8, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as He has in many such ayat of Quran, alluded to the concept of justice in Islam. Imagine waking up one morning and hearing the sounds of gunshots. A man has just been killed. You pass by a home where you hear some children crying, orphaned, and left alone to suffer because of the crimes of other people. On the other side of the town, you witness a home that has been robbed, its residents thrown out mercilessly. You walk past a quiet street to see a car has been vandalized, its windows broken to shattered glass. Now, just for a moment, stop imagining. Switch on the TV and go watch the news. Chances are you will see all this happening right now in front of your eyes, and even more in our very real world. You don't have to imagine these things anymore. This is a reality that happens every single day, and a reality that has been happening for the past 75 years, and more recently for the past 3.5 weeks. Injustice is very widespread in the earth. There can be no peace without the firm establishment of justice. The more you see injustice, the more you realize the importance of establishing justice in the land. When mankind lacks guidance on how to live their lives, the entire structure of society is damaged. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent down this Quran as guidance for all of mankind. With all the rules and regulations, we need to stay on the right path and on the right track. Islam is a very complete way of life. Every rule that is good for humanity has been ordained in the Sharia. Every rule that is good for our daily lives has been mentioned in Islam. Everything we need in order to be living successfully is mentioned by Islam. It can be found in Quran. Amongst these very important divinely instructed laws, one is the law of establishing justice. Quran says, Inna Allaha ya'muru bil adli wal ihsan. Allah commands justice, the doing of good, and liberality to kin and your kith. And He forbids all shameful deeds and injustice and rebellion. He instructs you that you may receive admonition. You find this in Surah Nahl, ayat number 90. In today's khutbah, we will inshallah explore the different ayat of Quran relating to the topic of justice and how we can apply them in our daily lives. Of course, when you see injustice outside, it should make you reflect on the injustice inside. When you see, and it's so easy to condemn someone, that so-and-so is not just. But then we overlook our own selves, that have we been just to our own families? our relatives, our community, folks around us. And we're easy to speak up against injustices that are happening globally, and we condemn them. And then we look at the forces who have the power to subdue these injustices, yet they're not doing anything. And then we get enraged, infuriated, and there's this ghazab and anger that comes about as to why all these people are not doing anything, while we feel the pain by forwarding a message or two, liking a tweet or two, sending this message and that message to masses. You might be creating awareness, but even you are not doing anything to stop the injustice that's happening. In fact, if anyone has the right to speak about injustice, should first look at themselves. Have I been totally just in my life or not? To my next door neighbor, to my family members, to my relatives, to my colleagues, to my brothers in faith and brothers in humanity. That has to be eradicated. What is justice? The equality of being just. What is it? Fairness, the principle of moral rightness, equity, conformity to moral rightness in action and attitude, righteousness, conformity to truth, fact, or sound reason. These are a variety of explanations that are given underneath the topic of justice. The Islamic definition of justice comes under the same categories. Justice, as defined in the Quran, commands mankind to behave in a fair and a just manner. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded us to protect the rights of others, to be fair and just with people, to side with the one who is under oppression, to help and be fair with the needy and the orphans, and to be just and not go beyond the boundaries that have been set forth by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even with our enemies, we are required to be fair and just in all circumstances and in all situations. We must establish justice in society, and this is the law of our Creator. Inna Allaha ya'murukum an tu'addul amanati ila ahliha wa idha hakamtum bayna an-nasi an tahkumu bil adl. Verily, Allah commands you that you should render back the trust to those who trusted you with it, to whom they are due, and that when you judge between mankind, you judge with justice. Justice, the law of Allah, establishing on the land, it is part of the balance which Allah has created. You read Surah Rahman all the time. It's unfortunate though, that we read all of these things, we hear all of these things, and further these things are elaborated, yet as if there's no impulse, there's no reaction, there's no understanding of it. We read in Surah Rahman, He raised the heaven high and set up the balance, declaring, do not infringe the balance, maintain the weights and with justice, and do not shorten the balance. What is this balance that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring to? My point is that when we speak of global injustice, we should first be able to speak about the local injustice. When we speak of local injustice, we should be able to reflect on our own souls that have I been unjust to someone? Have I done something like this? And I'm sure we're all humans and we've made mistakes, done things that qualify to be injustice. And there's a way of fixing that. Allah has created the balance of justice in this world. This is His divine law. We are not permitted to transgress against the system of balance that Allah has created. Allah has commanded us to establish weight and justice and ordered us to refrain from falling short in keeping this balance. Meaning, if it is being infringed and if it is being damaged, our duty then becomes is to go ahead and protect that. Allah is just. He leads by example. You know, when you're preaching something, if I stand here as a preacher and I'm telling you that drinking is haram, and na'udhu you see me doing the same thing, will there be any effect on you? If I stand here and preach that you should love everyone, and then you see me showing hatred towards someone, will you have effect from my words? Now, of course, as humans, because we're not infallible, that's why we look for the examples in infallible imams. Them being perfect beings, flawless, and so they are a perfect role model for us. But Allah, who wants this justice to be established, what is He? Is He not just Himself? When you talk about usul ad-din, you don't talk about the hukumat of Allah. You don't talk about the rahmaniyat of Allah. You don't speak about the raziqiyat of Allah. What do you say? Tawheed. And then you come right to the adl and the adalat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It became so important that it's part of your roots, part of your usul, that you believe in oneness, and then you believe that He is just. So Allah is just. Amongst the great names and attributes of Allah is Al-Hakam, which means the judge. Allah is the most judge, and He judges the affairs to His beings with full justice. Well, sometimes it may not make sense to us, but believe it or not, He does. There are several ayat in Quran which describe the justice of Allah. I'll share a few. Yunus 44 says, surely Allah does not do any injustice to men, but men are unjust to themselves. Just this ayat would be enough to further the point, but surely Allah does not do injustice to the weight of an atom. And if it is a good deed, He multiplies it and gives from Himself a great reward. And there are many other ayat like that. We understand from the above ayat that Allah is just. He does not do injustice to mankind. It is men who do injustice to themselves. Not only that Allah is just and fair, but He's so just that He will not even do the injustice to the weight of an atom. Zarra, that you can't even see with your own eyes. On top of that, Allah will only multiply our good deeds and reward us for that we have done in order to establish this justice in the world. Allah has commanded us to be just and fair. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kunu qawwamina bil qisti shuhada'a lillahi walau ala anfusikum. Now all the ayat of Quran are remarkable miracle. But then you come upon something like this, that all of us will agree, and I'll give you an example. What's the ayah says? O you who believe, stand out firmly for justice, as witnesses to Allah, even though it be against yourselves. Stand out for justice. Even if it be what? Goes against yourselves, goes against your own soul, harmful to you, or your parents, or your kin, be he rich or poor. Allah is a better protector to both than you. So follow not your lusts, lest you may be void of justice. And if you distort your witnesses or refuse to give it, verily Allah is ever well acquainted with what you do. But the point in this ayat is what? That stand firmly for justice even if it goes against you. Even if it goes against your family. Even if it goes against your relatives. Stand firm for justice. In the above ayah, Allah has commanded us in explicit words the importance of standing up for justice. Before Islam, the Arabs were living a life in a state of ignorance. Their loyalty was to themselves, their families, their own tribes. So, well, we live in the same way. Our loyalties are with our friends, our communities, our tribes. Even when their own were committing great injustices, they would stand up for them. Allah then sent down this verse commanding the Muslims to be just even if it goes against themselves, their parents, and their relatives. Let me give you an example. Naturally, it is very easy for human beings to wish for justice against others. Right? We are all been propagating justice for Gaza. We've all been propagating justice for the people of Parachinar, who are again under siege and under attack. We've all been propagating and speaking up against all the injustices that are happening, because that's something which we can do, speak. The heart is prone to inclining toward that which is just. Now, there are people whose hearts are so sick that when they see atrocities, they won't incline toward justice. And that has a reason. Not that their hearts are so, stern. You and I sometimes become the same way. It's only natural to side with those who you belong to. Side with those whom you are close to. Side with those who are same religion as you. Suppose your neighbor's house has been robbed. The doors have been broken, windows shattered, and belongings taken away. Their lives are left in ruins. A common scene that you see regularly in Gaza and in other parts of the world. Naturally, your heart will incline toward bringing the burglar to justice, right? My neighbor, his house was attacked. Burglar took everything, left them with nothing, all the damages that have happened. What's your inclination? Natural instinct. You side with the person who is the victim over here. The victim would definitely be, the victim would definitely want the thief to be punished. Now let's say that thief is you. Would you still want justice to be served? As the criminal, you would do your utmost to get away with the crime. Now let's say the thief was your father, the thief was your brother. Most likely you would still incline towards saving your family by concealing their crimes and helping them get away. Yet if the culprit is not yourself or your family, you would want justice to be served for the exact same crime. Why the double standards? These double standards are the result of our lust and our desires, which of course often lead to injustice. With that example, the wisdom behind this command that Allah has given it to us, that is, speak up for justice even if it goes against your own family members. Surah Ma'idah, the ayat that I recited for you in the very beginning, I'll translate, O you who believe, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kunu qawwamina lillahi. O you who believe, stand out firmly for Allah as just witnesses. And let not the enmity and hatred of others make you avoid justice. Be just, that is nearer to taqwa and piety, and fear Allah. Verily, Allah is well acquainted with all that you do. What do we understand from these ayat in Quran? I've recited 4 or 5 ayat for you, some of which talk about justice established by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the balance in the universe, and how Allah loves this justice. We understand from this verse that Allah has commanded us to be just because that is closer to taqwa. Isn't it our duty every single day to do something which is near taqwa? How did the khutbah begin? Ittaqullah. No, usikum bittaqwallah. I give you advice to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, myself and you, to adopt and practice the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why should you be just? Because Quran says, Allah ta'dilu, i'dilu huwa aqrabu lit-taqwa. Be just, because being just is closest to being muttaqi. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The other aspects of it, inshallah, I'll leave it for another time, as I will not be able to do justice to the discussion if I went into it. But the problem that we see in our surroundings, and sometimes we feel helpless, that what can we do? What is a possibility? What can be done? And of course, sometimes people feel this guilt that, of course, Muslimin are not doing enough. As Muslims, we have not done enough. And then there's this guilt inside that you want to do something. And then you run into this conundrum that, should I or should I not? If I move forward, then I face all these repercussions. And I'm sure all of you have seen this, the repercussions that are happening as we speak. Those who spoke out against this injustice were not spared. Whether it be Harvard, whether it be Columbia, whether it be other institutions that teach these sciences, whether it be a corporate world, corporate life, corporate job, whether it be schools, you're targeted the moment you speak out. So what does your moral duty say? Should you speak out and put everything at stake? Because you know, by saying something, you're possibly going to cause outrage, which is of course wrong. There shouldn't be any outrage. Whatever happened to freedom of speech? You know? You gave us all the freedom of speech. Now when we speak our heart, then you say, well, this is wrong. This is hate speech. This is not permissible. And then when we say, well, don't burn Quran and don't speak ill of Prophet, you say, well, freedom of speech. Let them speak about Prophet that way. Everyone has the right to say what they want. So these double standards, this society is not based on justice. If anything, there's lack of justice in it. So what you and I are in this conundrum as to, should I speak out? But then you fear what will happen in the future. Will I lose my job? Will this uncertainty that lies in front of you, what will happen? But then there's this guilt inside of you that wants you to say something and do something. So here you need to apply the formula of Amr bil Maruf wa Nahi anil Munkar. Nahi anil Munkar is that you speak up against the injustice. If there's any wrong that is happening, you gotta do something about it. But of course with conditions, with some reservations. If you think that there will be some sort of bodily and mental and spiritual harm to you, to your family, then of course you don't have the obligation to go ahead and say it. Don't live in guilt that, oh, if I didn't do it, means that I was not part of it or I did not do my duty. You don't always have to do everything. Leave certain things to certain other individuals. It's not saying that everyone has to, for example, give lectures and speak up against it. No, that's not the duty of all the people. If you can just be part of a procession, that is your duty. If you can't go to the procession because there's a possibility something will happen, just providing for those who are going and facilitating them is your duty. You don't have to say, well, I want to be the speaker at the program. Now you're going to be on the big screen, highlight. And I'll face all the repercussions. If you're willing to, then sure. La tulku bi aydiyakum ila tahluka, ayat of Quran. Don't throw yourself into halakat with your own hands. So you gotta make sure that you are able to draw a line between bravery and valor, jur'at and courage, and tahawwur, and going overboard. With that said, I think our duty is very clear. What are we supposed to do? What is expected of us? Don't live in a guilt that if I didn't do this, meaning I have not played my role as far as this, this atrocity is being done. You play your role according to your ability, whatever is possible for you. Play your role, but doesn't have to be something which is the major role. It just could be something which is behind the scenes. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the tawfiq and ability to do our duty the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expects us to do so. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to establish justice in the land. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten the reappearance of our awaited Imam. Inna asal hadith wa abligh al-mawta. Kitab Allah a'udhu billahi min ash-shaytan ar-rajim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wal asr. Inna al-insana lafi khusr. Illa alladhina amanu wa amilu as-salihat wa tawasaw bil-haqqi wa tawasaw bis-sabr. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحليم الكريم غافر الذنب وقابل التوب وهو الغفور الرحيم سبحان من سبقت رحمته غضبه وبسط اليدين بالرحمة سبحان من لم يكلف نفسا إلا دون وسعها فعن السيئات ولم يجاز بها سبحان من لا يزداد ولا معصية بعد إلا كرما وجودا ولا كثر الذنوب إلا فهو سوف نشهد أن لا إله إلا هو لطوف للعباد بجوده والأفضل المظلمين بحلمه ونشهد أن محمدا نبيه وحبيبه سيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين بعثه رحمة للعالمين لا قد أمركم الله في محكم كتابه بالصلاة على نبيه وحبيبه فقال تعليما لكم وتشريفا لصفيه إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وعلى إمام المسلمين وقائد الغر المحجلين أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى سيدة النساء العالمين وبذة خاتم النبيين سيدتنا فاطمة بنت رسول الله صلوات الله عليه وعلى الحسن المجتبى والحسين الشهيد بكربلاء وعلي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي عليهم الصلاة والسلام اللهم صل على مولانا صاحب الزمان ما هي آثار البدع والطغيان هادم أبنية الشرك والنفاق حاسد فروع البغي والشقاق صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى آبائه الكرام ما اتصلت الليالي والأيام اللهم عجل فرجا وسهل مخرجا واكحل ناظرنا بنظرة منا إليه واجعلنا من المستشهدين بين يديه وتفضل على أمرائنا المؤمنين بمزيد التوفيقات وازدياد الإقبال وعلو الدرجات اللهم افعل بنا ما أنت أهله ولا تفعل بنا ما نحن أهل بجاه محمد وآله المعصومين صلوات الله عليهم أجمعين إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يسبح لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض الملك القدوس العزيز الحكيم هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين وآخرين منهم لما يلحقوا بهم وهو العزيز الحكيم ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم مثل الذين حملوا التوراة ثم لم يحملوها كمثل الحمار يحمل أسفارا بئس مثل القوم الذين كذبوا بآيات الله والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين قل يا أيها الذين هادوا إن زعمتم أنكم أولياء لله من دون الناس فتمنوا الموت إن كنتم صادقين ولا يتمنونه أبدا بما قدمت أيديهم والله عليم بالظالمين قل إن الموت الذي تفرون منه فإنه ملاقيكم ثم تردون إلى عالم الغيب والشهادة فينبئكم بما كنتم تعملون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. فإذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا في الأرض وابتغوا من فضل الله واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون. وإذا رأوا تجارة أو لهوا انفضوا إليها وتركوك قائمة قل ما عند الله خير من اللهو ومن التجارة والله خير الرازقين. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. وربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. وربنا افرغ علينا الصبر وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين بجاه محمد وآله الطاهرين. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضيف. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر.
ملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. تسبيح جناب فاطمة الزهراء سلام الله عليها. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. All of us together. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم كن لوليك الحجة لابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك توعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Jummah Mubarak to you all. Let's recognize the sponsors for today's Jummah lunch. It is the family of Brother Naseem Hamid and his family. Please recite Surah Fatiha for their deceased relatives as well as your Surah Fatiha. Bismillah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Couple of announcements, inshallah. Tonight, Friday, we have the youth program, children ages 6 to 12. Inshallah, right after Salat, there will be Quran Academy's Quran program for 1 hour from 7 p.m. till 8, and then futsal in the Sada School gym from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. If you're coming, please confirm, as this has been going on for quite some time, so you know the volunteers, those who are taking part. If you don't know, then you can come and ask me, and we can sign you up. You can just show up at the time, and that would be it. Also, there are a lot of rallies that are going on. One in Washington, D.C., tomorrow. I'm sure many of you are going. There's another one that I was requested to announce, which is happening here locally in Princeton, One Monument Drive, Princeton, New Jersey. All of these rallies, of course, to bring about awareness to the current ongoing situation in Gaza. Aside from that, inshallah, this coming Sunday, we will also have a program here in Masjid-e-Ali entitled as How to Discuss Palestine. This will be an interactive workshop, or rather interactive discussion with panels, and inshallah you'll have an opportunity to ask your questions towards the end, and it'll be inshallah starting at 2 p.m. this coming Sunday, November 5th, inshallah starting at 2 p.m. sharp, and we'll finish on time. Also, don't forget that this Sunday daylight saving ends, so you're gonna move back an hour, right? Got that right? Move back an hour, and so we'll lose an hour, and but the Fajr time will remain same. 6 a.m. tomorrow, inshallah, we'll gather, and Saturdays we have Quran circle. Right after that, we have tafsir of Quran, and on Sunday we'll still come on the, with the clocks changed at 6 a.m. Just we'll have maybe about half hour for Salatul Fajr, so inshallah we'll be able to manage that. And after Salatul Fajr on Sunday mornings, we have Nahjul Balagha discussion. So you're all welcome to join in that program, inshallah. I've also been informed that, alhamdulillah, the daycare is up and running. So if you have children ages 2 to 3, or if you know of someone who has children ages 2 to 3, take advantage of this opportunity. Good opportunity to bring your kids here. While they're here in daycare, safe and sound environment, they learn Islamic values as well. So take advantage of that. And also, please support Sadiq School PTO. They're selling a lot of good stuff, halim and cheesesteaks and Kashmiri chai and all that stuff. You can buy and purchase things outside, and then there's chai also available outside. And this will, of course, go toward helping out with the PTO activities towards Sadiq School. So all in good cause, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I think I got everything. Let's recite Dua Sahat, Dua Shifa for all of those people who are in need of dua, those who are suffering, struggling, going through difficult time, especially the brothers and sisters in Palestine, in Parachanar, who have been victim of all these atrocities. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring an end to their atrocities, or bring an end to their difficulties, inshallah. Let's recite this ayat 5 times together. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Amma yujibu al-muttarra idha da'ahu yakshifu as-su. Amma yujibu al-mustarra idha da'ahu yakshifu as-su. Amma yujibu al-mustarra idha da'ahu yakshifu as-su. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه يكشف السوء أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه يكشف السوء ويجعلكم خلفاء الأرض أإله مع الله قليلا ما تذكرون. Let's proceed to Salatul Asr. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله أكبر اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب رب زدني علما نافعا وعملا صالحا فالحقني بالصالحين بجاه محمد وآله الطاهرين الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر الحمد لله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف الله أكبر الحمد لله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر
الله ملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. تسبيح.